Hi, this is Dave from DIY Domination. Have you ever wondered how to preserve your favorite seasonal fruits and vegetables to enjoy them all year round? Canning and preserving food is a skill that's been passed down through generations, allowing us to savor the bounty of harvest seasons long after they've passed. It's not just about prolonging the life of your favorite summer berries or autumn apples. It's also a wonderful way to reduce food waste and make the most of what nature has to offer. Think about it. How amazing would it be to crack open a jar of summer peach jam on a cold winter's day, or to spice up a midweek meal with some homemade pickles? By mastering the art of canning, you're not just preserving food, you're preserving a piece of history, a tradition that connects us to our roots and to the rhythm of the earth. So, are you ready to learn how to can and preserve your own food? Let's dive right in. By the way, if you like this video and want to see more videos with advice on prepping and survival, make sure to click the subscribe button and leave a comment down below saying, "I subscribed," and we'll do our best to reply to your comment. To get started, gather your equipment. The first item on your list should be fresh produce. This could be anything from fruits to vegetables, depending on what you plan to can and preserve. Make sure your produce is fresh and of good quality, since this will greatly impact the end result. Next up, you'll need glass canning jars with lids and bands. These jars are specially designed to withstand the heat of canning and create a vacuum seal to keep your food safe. The lids and bands are crucial in securing the seal. A water bath canner with a rack is another must-have. This large pot allows you to submerge your jars in boiling water, which is the key to canning. The rack is there to keep the jars off the bottom of the pot and allow water to circulate around them evenly. To handle these hot jars, you'll need a jar lifter. This handy tool helps you safely lower and lift jars into and out of the boiling water bath. A canning funnel will make filling your jars a breeze. It fits perfectly into the mouth of your jars, preventing spills and ensuring that your produce goes where it should. You'll also need a lid lifter or magnetic lid wand. This tool helps you place lids onto your jars without touching them, keeping everything sanitary. The bubble remover tool is another little helper in your canning process. It helps you get rid of any air bubbles trapped in your jars, ensuring a proper seal. Don't forget clean towels and cloths for wiping down your jars, lids, and work area. Keeping everything clean is crucial in canning. A cutting board and a sharp knife will be necessary for preparing your produce. And lastly, depending on your recipe, you might need some acid like lemon juice or vinegar. Before you begin, ensure all your equipment is clean and in good condition. Sterilize your jars by placing them in a boiling water bath for 10 minutes. This will help prevent any bacteria or other contaminants from spoiling your canned goods. Now, with all your equipment ready, let's move to the next step. Next, choose your produce. Fresh, high-quality fruits and vegetables give the best results. You want to ensure that your chosen produce is ripe, but not overripe, and free from any blemishes or rotten spots. Now, it's time to prepare the produce. Start by washing your fruits or vegetables thoroughly. This will help remove any dirt, pesticides, or other unwanted residues. Once cleaned, peel your produce as needed and cut into desired sizes. Remember, smaller pieces will generally pack more easily into your jars. For low-acid produce, such as some vegetables, you'll need to increase the acidity to ensure safe preservation. This is where lemon juice or vinegar comes into play. Simply toss your cut veggies in a mixture of 1 part lemon juice or vinegar to 4 parts water. This will help keep your produce safe and tasty throughout the preservation process. With your produce prepared, we're ready to start filling our jars. Now it's time to fill our jars, but first let's get our water bath canner ready. Begin by filling your water bath canner with enough water to cover the jars by 1 to 2 inches. This amount ensures that the jars are adequately submerged during the processing stage. As you're preparing your produce, preheat the water to near boiling. It's all about timing, folks. Now, on to filling the jars. Here's where your canning funnel comes into play. This handy tool makes the process cleaner and more efficient. Pack your prepared produce into the sterilized jars using the funnel. But remember, we need to leave some space at the top. This is called the head space, and it's crucial for ensuring a proper seal. The exact amount of headspace needed may vary depending on the type of food you're canning and the specific recipe you're following. However, a general rule of thumb is to leave about 1/4 to 1/2 inch of space. Now, you might have noticed some pesky air bubbles trapped in the jars. We need to get rid of those. Run a bubble remover tool or a non-metallic spatula around the inside of the jar to release any trapped air. It's a small step, but it can make a big difference in the quality of your canned goods. With our jars filled, it's time to turn our attention back to the water bath canner. The water should be near boiling by now. If it's not, adjust the heat as necessary. Remember, the goal is to have the water at a steady rolling boil when we're ready to process the jars. Filling the jars and preparing the canner might seem like a lot of work, but each step is critical to ensuring the success of your canning project. And the reward? A pantry stocked with homemade preserved foods that you can enjoy all year round. With our jars filled and our water bath canner ready, we can move on to processing. Processing our jars is a crucial step in canning. Let's see how it's done. We've prepared our produce, filled our jars, and now we're ready to process them in the canner. This step is vital as it kills bacteria, yeasts, and molds that might be present in your food jar or lid. It also helps create a vacuum seal on the jar, keeping your preserved goods fresh and safe to eat. First, we need to place the filled jars onto the canner rack. This is where your jar lifter comes into play. It's a handy tool that allows you to lift and move hot jars safely. Carefully pick up each jar, keeping it upright at all times, and lower it onto the rack. Make sure your jars are evenly spaced and not touching each other. Once all your jars are neatly arranged on the rack, it's time to submerge them in the water. Lower the rack into the canner, ensuring the jars are covered by at least 1 to 2 inches of water. If needed, add more boiling water. The water level is important because it ensures even and thorough heating of all jars. Now, cover your canner and crank up the heat. We want to bring the water to a rolling boil. Once it's boiling, that's when the actual processing time begins. The processing time will depend on the type of food you're canning and the size of your jars. Always follow the specific processing times given in your recipe. Keep an eye on the water level during processing. If it drops and jars are no longer covered, you'll need to add more boiling water. Remember, the jars must remain submerged at all times. After the processing time is up, turn off the heat and let the canner sit for about 5 minutes. This allows the boiling to cease and helps prevent boiling water from splashing out when you remove the lid. Once your jars have been processed, it's time to let them cool and seal. Remember, canning is a labor of love, but the reward is year-round enjoyment of your favorite seasonal produce. Patience is key, and soon you'll be a canning pro. After processing, our jars need to cool. This is when the magic happens and our jars seal. Now you've done the hard part. It's time to let our jars chill out and cool down. Using your trusty jar lifter, carefully remove the jars from the canner and place them on a clean towel or cooling rack. Make sure to leave a bit of space between the jars for air circulation. This cooling process is crucial as it allows the jars to form a vacuum seal. While your jars are cooling, you might hear a delightful ping or pop sound. That's music to a canner's ears. It's the sound of the lids being sucked down by the vacuum effect. But don't worry if you don't hear it. Not all jars make this sound, and it doesn't necessarily mean your jars haven't sealed properly. Once your jars are completely cooled, and we're talking about 12 to 24 hours here, and not a couple of minutes, it's time to check the seals. This is an important step to ensure your hard work won't spoil. To do this, press down on the center of each lid. If the lid doesn't move, congrats! You have a good seal. If the lid pops up and down, unfortunately, the jar didn't seal properly, but don't fret. You can still refrigerate this jar and enjoy it in the near future. After confirming that your jars have sealed correctly, it's time to store them. This part is easy. Find a cool, dark, and dry place, like a pantry or a basement. The ideal storage temperature is below 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Avoid places with high heat or direct sunlight, as they can degrade the quality of your preserved food over time. Remember to label your jars with the contents and the date. It's easy to forget what's what, especially if you're canning a variety of foods. You've now successfully canned and preserved your own food. Isn't it satisfying to see all those jars lined up, filled with preserved food that you can enjoy throughout the year? Congratulations on completing your first canning and preserving project. You've mastered gathering and preparing your equipment, prepping your produce, filling those jars and getting them ready for the canner. You've processed your jars in the canner and learned the art of cooling, checking seals, and storing your bounty. Feel free to experiment with different types of produce and recipes. The world of canning is wide open. Remember, practice makes perfect. Keep trying, and soon you'll be a canning and preserving pro. Until next time, happy canning. If you liked this video, then make sure to also watch these videos for more DIY prepping lessons and advice.